We're back in our makeshift home at MultiChoice City, and so much to talk about today, though the focus will be quite largely on the Bulls, who had a wonderful match last weekend. And I'll ask these three gentlemen in the studio if the Bulls are now the real deal. Gobani Bobo and Victor Matfield, as always, and always glad to have Robbie Kempson joining us. So plenty to talk about. We'll also touch on the Sharks. We're trying to get a lot of people down to the Shark Tank this weekend. Stay tuned for all of that. This is First 15.
Desperate stuff from the Rebels. Can they counter? No! The Huggle Warriors are in.
Now Torres giving chase up over the 22. He goes and he dots it down.
Wainui threw it forward. Snapped up beautifully by Bowden Barrett. Retallick doing a great job. Barrett, I think, scored it.
Well, it's been all exciting in Vodacom Super Rugby. The action will continue this weekend. And last week, we built up to the big game between the Sharks and the Bulls. A lot of us calling, in fact, I think all of us calling it for the Sharks by virtue of them being at home. Yes, Robbie Kempson, you weren't here, so you didn't call it. But were you surprised by that result, by how good the Bulls were?
By the scoreline, yes, but not by the results. I honestly believe that the Bulls could take it there, regardless of the weather. I thought they had the upper hand, and perhaps the particular Sharks not being able to close out games. I thought that the Bulls had managed to do that, particularly against the Hurricanes early in the season. If it was close towards the end, they would have done it anyway.
I'm going to need proof. I'm going to need you to show me your Super Brew,
no problem.
on cell phone. I don't believe you. Vic?
I just want to say I didn't call the Sharks. It must be the favourites. I called it.
You didn't want to call anyone, if I recall. But it was a really good performance by the Bulls. Yes, the Sharks will kick themselves, and they certainly didn't look like that same team that we were talking about last week that seemed to have found an extra gear. They almost looked as though maybe they let the travel get to them.
Yes, I think it's always difficult coming back from New Zealand, like we all know. But I think the Bulls just started so well in that game. And we actually spoke about the Bulls in the beginning of the year. Now, while they play, but they've actually let a few of their old strengths go out of the window, and all of that came back as well. Their scrums were good, their line-out drive was good, their stopping of line-out drives was good. So, and then when the weather came, they actually managed the game very well. They didn't overplay it. They put the Sharks under pressure in their own half, and they defended well. And they got the turnovers and they scored easy tries. So, perfect game by the Bulls in that conditions.
Yeah, well, Bobs, you've done some homework and highlighted exactly those strengths, those traditional strengths, and I think it's probably been 5, 6, maybe more years we've been crying to see a dominant Bulls pack, and we actually got to see one past weekend.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, we're going to start off with their scrums. I mean, this is why we got Robbie Kempson for today.
Most important part of
the most important part of the game. But you have to give kudos to the fact that they got the experience of Adrian Strauss. You do have Trevor Nyakane, who's doing well at tight head. Pierce Schoolman has been a revelation, I think, for the Bulls, and they're starting to show the whole team. I mean, you think about those locks, they're big boys, and they put so much pressure. Them not talk too much. This is your scrums.
Yeah, so the important part is that the conditions are played very well. They had a very steady platform. Makes life easy for your halfbacks to control the game, and particularly the dominance of that front row. And you mentioned, listen, the back five's got a large part to play. You watch that back five, Borley's got his head down, they're climbing in, and don't forget the man in the middle. Strauss has got a tremendous amount of experience, and he brings a lot to a pretty young, like Trevor's still young in terms of a tight head, and he managed this process very well in very tricky conditions against a pack that predominantly is normally heavier than him. So to have this sort of platform, talking about additional strength, probably no way back when Puerto was still playing. Sorry, Vic. But if you have that sort of platform in those conditions, you can only but win games.
Yeah, well, I suppose the entire tight five, Bobs, did their jobs. In order for the scrums and the front rowers to look good, the locks have got to be pushing in that scrum, and they've got to be working as a unit, and seeing that unity very evident in the mauls and the way they went about their business.
They did very well because the locks were rewarding them in the scrums, and then at the same time they're lifting in the lineouts from the props. I mean, Vic, this is your forte.
Yes, I think firstly, Lure Jager calling the lineouts are doing a fantastic job. He's playing fantastic rugby. He's really controlling that lineout so well. And yeah, even off the kickoff, we haven't seen this from the Bulls. Everyone think with a guy like John Mitchell, they're probably going to run this. And this is what rugby is about. If you have attacking game, then people have to stay out. Now the maul is on. Next week they might come in to stop that maul, and then there will be spaces on the outside. And yeah, even defensively, getting that maul going, then getting the penalty, and then from there again you can get territory. So there you take the penalty, kick it in their half, and you can play in their half. And so that's how important that maul is for them. But even here, a front ball, the Sharks should be able to stop it, but they set it so well. And Robbie, you know it, once that maul is set, it's really hard to stop. And everyone working hard, all 8 of the forwards, like in the scrum, working, and yeah, they're getting the rewards. Early in the year against the Crusaders, they went for 4 maul tries and they couldn't get it. Yeah. Now the maul is starting to work, and they've scored 3-4 tries in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's certainly been a trend which you've been talking about. In the beginning of the season, they battled. Now they look as though they're getting it right. But you talk about finding the space. Sometimes you have to wait for it to be found out wide, but they found it this past weekend just over the tops.
And that is from good analysis. They found out that no one was covering behind the strong, hard line that the Sharks were putting up. And all of a sudden, started finding that space. And it's all about transferring pressure. This is when you got the man, Tembelani Boli. Robbie Kempson thought that he taught him how to kick those grabbers. But, I mean, this is just clear basics, 101, making sure that you transfer the pressure. And this is great take from Cotter. That's what they wanted to do. They know that the fullback is deep, so you give a ball a bit of competitiveness so you can compete.
So what I like is all this kicking is on the front foot. A lot of people always talk about, yeah, but New Zealand kick more than South Africans. But all their kicks are on the front foot. It's not going deep, just kicking it long, waiting for them. So it's either running onto the ball, or it's a contestable kick where they can win it back again. So I must say the kicking game was really good. And again, it's because of the attacking game. People have to put numbers in the line. Now there's space in behind. Now they're attacking that again. So really great performance there by 9, 10 and 15 controlling that kicking game.
Well, you also highlighted a couple of guys who've done phenomenally well. And I mean, Irfan van Zyl, and he's not the only scrum half at the Bulls who's doing particularly well. Ambrose Papier is the other guy, but Irfan had a wonderful game.
Oh man, he's such a player. I mean, look at the control that he has for a young man, and the way that he's actually marshalling the forward pack, decision making, like you were mentioning, Vic. He's one of those players seems to have lots of time on his hands.
Yeah, I must say, Farida Priya picked him when he was still at school, and he said, "Listen, you have to look at this kid." And we pulled him into the Super Rugby squad when he was 19 years old, straight out of school. And I must say, he's that clever scrum half that just do the right things at the right time. There's nothing, he doesn't break the line and make big tackles, but he lets everyone else look good around him, and that's what you want from a 9. You want a playmaker there. You don't always want a game breaker there. You want a playmaker, and Irfan van Zyl has been very good this last 2 games, and his kicking game, his contestable kicks are on the dot. They're winning that back, and that makes a big difference for the Bulls as well.
It is a little noisy where we are because of the rain, and it's sunny. So what do they say in Afrikaans? Jakkalstroom met wolfsevrouw.
Was that?
Oh, yeah. My Afrikaans Oni will be so proud of me. Warwick Gelant, we saw this kid come through from Diamantveld a couple of years ago playing high school rugby. He's gone on from strength to strength. And Robbie K, you know how you appreciate the white backs.
I have to correct you, the Otaniqua.
Otaniqua.
So he's a man from SWD. It suited him, the grounds and how it is. He's one of those players, because he used to play at centre, he played 2 years at centre for ACE Schools. So physically, he's up for the tackle. And what is good about him, he can take the ball in the air, and he's got that grabber, kick, pass thing to go score tries. He's got the ilk to find space behind the players. He had a great game. And I think we're going to see more test caps on his name.
Yeah, we saw him, I meant to say, at the Wilde Klaver Super School at Diamantveld, along with the Creel brothers. But since then, these guys have been absolutely phenomenal. Do you think that this guy should be a shoe-in for the Bok 15 jersey, Kebo?
You would think so, particularly Pollard's come up against the other 2 majors fly-offs so far in South Africa, and he's come up definitely out on top. And, you know, Janchi's also playing pretty good rugby at the moment, but for me, Pollard out and out, just the quality of him and the manner in which he's controlled the game, like Vassal did, and also, you know, the forward pack did set the platform, but that side kick off his foot, and he's gaining in confidence game from game. He's got the physical attributes to be taking on the line when he has to, and I think his kicking game is, for me, the thing that has improved the most. Yes. You know, finding the space when necessary, and also picking the right personnel in the opposition to put high balls on where they know they've got a better chance, probably an 80-20 of winning it back as opposed to a 60-40.
Pollard, is there a chance that Rassie could maybe, in terms of fly-half, select horses for courses? Is he more stable for certain games rather than an Alton?
Best thing now is that we do have options. Last year we only relied on Alton, so now you can have Alton on the left foot, you can have Pollard an inside centre with the right foot, and you got Gelant with the right foot. He can kick with either foot, so at least we're looking good at fly half, and there's competition.
Let's throw the tight forward some scraps. Ergies Neyman, how good was he this past weekend?
Yeah, I must say, since the beginning of the year. Again, a kid that I worked with since he was at school, and he's got all the skills. If you see the offloads he throws, the backhand, he always gets through the contact, and he always gets a hand out. Sometimes I think he must maybe hold on to it a little bit more, but he just got the skills to keep the ball alive. And he's big, he's strong. If you go stand next to him, it's about, I think he's probably about 125 kgs, 205. So he's a big guy, and he's got gas as well. So again, a fantastic player, and I think one for the future.
And for a young man, he is a very relatively young man, quite a strenuous position, but he makes limited mistakes. Very seldom, he's a bit like a Retallick. Very seldom does he make mistakes where he can be capitalised on the opposition to score points out of it. So I think that attribute of his in the manner in which he plays is very significant.
Right, well, after the break, we'll change our focus to the Sharks. And earlier this season, we spoke about how difficult it is for teams to get people to come out to the venues. The Sharks have a special event planned for this coming weekend. We'll be chatting to Edward Kutsia, the COO of the Sharks.